So, first of all, do you really understand in your experience what I mean when I say that you are the screen of consciousness, or the screen-like presence of consciousness upon which or within which all your experience appears? Okay. And that everything that appears in experience, your thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, perceptions, relationships, activities, these are all appearances that come and go on the ever-present screen of consciousness, or in the ever-present space of consciousness or awareness. And that what you essentially are is this presence of awareness, that nothing else is essential to you. No thought is essential to you, no feeling, even no relationship, however close you may be to your companion or your sister, or no relationship is essential to you. That is not in any way to undermine the closeness and beauty of relationship, but it's just saying that it's not essential to you. What is essential to you, what cannot be removed from you, is the presence of awareness. So is there, in this picture, in this model, is there room for love? Absolutely yes. Love is the recognition that we share our being. What I mean by our being is the same as what I mean by awareness. The aware being is another name for awareness. So what you essentially are, what you refer to when you say, I am, before that I am is qualified by experience, that is, qualified by any thought, feeling, sensation, perception, relationship, etc. That essential I am is quality-less. It has no features or qualities or characteristics. It is just pure being, pure self-aware being. And that experience of pure being is the same for each of us. For instance, if everyone now were to take out a magical iPhone, the iPhone Mark 27, and take a snapshot of the entire range of their experience, that not just their visual perceptions, but their feelings, their thoughts, their sensations. If you could have a magical camera that captured the entire content of our experience, and everyone were to do this, and we were then to print each image, we would end up with 150 or so different images, because everybody's thoughts are different, everybody's feelings, even everybody's experience of my voice and the sight of this room is slightly different. Yes? But now if everyone were to turn the camera around and take a selfie, that is to take an image of themselves, not their thoughts and their feelings, those are superfluous, they are temporary, but to take an image of their essential self. And then we printed all those images. What would be on the images? What would the content of the images be?
Unlimited consciousness.
The images would be empty. There'd be blank. There'd be no objects there. In other words, each of our image of ourself, our true essential self, is the same. Now that's the same for all of us. It's the same for Ramana Maharshi and Hitler and everybody. If we take a picture of our thoughts and feelings, our activities and relationships, they are all different. But if we turn it round and take a picture of our essential self, our essential being, that to which each of us refers when we say simply, I am, before I am is qualified by experience, is the same. Now, be open to the possibility that our essential being is shared. That there are not 155 individual beings in this room. There may be 155 individual thoughts. There may be 155 perceptions. But be open to the possibility that the being that each of us is, the self-aware being that shines in each of our minds as the knowledge I am, is the same being, refracted in each of our minds as the knowledge I am, or the knowledge I, or the knowledge of myself. But it is the same being that each of us shares. In other words, this screen of awareness upon which our experience appears is not limited to our particular experience. There's not one screen for each person. It's more like a screen in a night watchman's hut, and the night watchman is watching over a building site. And on every corner of the building site a camera is placed. And the night watchman sits in his cubicle at the entrance to the building site, and on a single screen he sees 100 images. Each of those images come from one of the cameras. The content of each image is different, but each image shares the same screen. And if you run your finger over the screen, you don't find lots of separate squares. There is one indivisible, single screen. Now, be open to the possibility that consciousness is like the night watchman's screen. It is one. It is indivisible. And the fact that numerous thoughts and feelings and perceptions appear on it doesn't actually divide it. Be open to the possibility that the self of each of us, the I, the letter I, the I of each of us, is the same being. Now, about your question of love, could it be that the experience of love is the recognition that we share our being at the deepest level? Because isn't that what love feels like? When you love someone, do you not feel, to a greater or lesser extent, that you are one with them? Isn't that what the feeling of love is? The feeling of being close. In fact, even closer than close. There are people in your life, or at times in your life, when you have felt at one. That you have felt that everything that divides you from the other melts away, and that you are one. Has anyone here not had that experience? I've never met anyone who had not had that experience. That is the experience of love. Love is the experience of our shared being. Love is not a feeling that a person has. In fact, love is the absence of the person. It is the collapse of everything that separates us. So yes, when you hear from your sister that she is very ill, immediately the depth of your relationship with her, the depth of your love shines. That's the first thing you feel when you hear this, is your love for her. And rightly so, because an illness threatens everything we know about ourselves objectively. Ultimately, it threatens the survival of the body. So when everything that defines the body and the mind is threatened or taken away, what remains is love. That is why if one has a loved one, a companion or an animal or a friend who dies, our memories of that person, the memories of the particular thoughts, the particular actions, they slowly fade. But the love we share, the love we used to share with them, remains intact and in fact is often magnified in their absence. Because this love, this shared being was the essence of our relationship with them while they were alive, and it remains the essence of our relationship with them after they've passed away. So that is why when your sister's body is threatened by this illness, this love you feel for her is magnified. So yes, absolutely there is. It's not that there is a place for love in consciousness. Consciousness is love.
And the response, where does the response come from?
The response to your sister, well, it comes from love. Ultimately, that the source of your response to your sister is love. It's immediately you feel care, concern, compassion. All of those are expressions of love. But your love is also tailored to the situation. She is sick. She is at risk. You are a medical practitioner, so you have skills, you have knowledge, you have experience. So you're not just going to smile lovingly at your sister, because you have practical ways of helping her. So it's natural that your love will be expressed through whatever means you consider appropriate for her. So your love may be expressed in very specific ways that you offer her help or support or care.
But is there a way of differentiating between my responses coming from my personal self as to a response coming from my authentic or aware self?
Any response that comes from love is coming from the true and only self of awareness or God's infinite being. A response of fear would be a response from the ego or the personal self. You see, when everything on the screen of consciousness, that is our experience, the thoughts, images, feelings, sensations, perceptions, when they all leave the screen goes nowhere. It stays. What we essentially are remains. It is immortal. It is ever present. And the highest help you can offer your sister is to put her in touch with that understanding. Now, in order to put her in touch with that understanding, you need to understand that yourself. So the most important thing is to be in touch with the ever-presence of awareness, to be in touch with the fact that whatever experience passes over the screen of awareness, however pleasant or unpleasant, whatever state of the mind or the body, the screen of awareness, the space-like presence of awareness is always in the same condition. It is always whole. It is always in perfect health. It is always complete. And if you know that for yourself, you know it for another. And that is the most important thing, the most important response that you could give to your sister. Because if you give her that, you give her peace, irrespective of what happens as this illness develops, whether she whether she deteriorates or whether she gets better. You put her in touch with the peace and the health that is not dependent upon the condition of her body, but prior to the condition of her body. And that is not in any way to say that all the other ways that you might help her as a practitioner are not valid. They absolutely are valid, and it is quite right to respond appropriately in whatever way you feel would best help her. But the ultimate gift you could give her, the ultimate healing you could give her, is to put her in touch with that part of herself which is at peace and whole and perfect and complete, irrespective of the condition of the body. Because once you're in touch with that, your fear of death leaves. And whatever now happens to your sister, if you put her in touch with this, and if she begins to abide there more and more, that will give her all the courage and the strength and the equanimity to bear whatever happens.